Welcome, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Claire Ladd. I'm the Programs and Services Manager at the Massachusetts Nonprofit Network. And just a few quick items before we get into the content. So the recording and slides from today's program will be emailed to you after the webinar, so just keep an eye out for that. During the webinar, if you have questions, you can submit them using the Q&A function or the chat at any time. We'll keep an eye on that and make sure we have plenty of time for questions. If you have any technical difficulties, just let us know in the chat as well. We can try to assist. I'll also want to give a little background about us here at MNN. Our three goals are to strengthen the nonprofit sector through advocacy, public awareness, and capacity building services. This webinar is part of our webinar series, and please stay tuned for future topics as we have webinars regularly, and let us know if there's any topics that you are most interested in seeing. Our efforts are made possible by our more than 600 member organizations. Thank you to all of our members. If you have not yet joined but are interested in taking advantage of the opportunities and cost savings, please visit our website, look into our membership to learn more about joining, and let us know if you have any questions. Today's webinar, excuse me, is titled Want Better Financial and Retirement Outcomes? Get Employees to Open Up About Money. This presentation is brought to us by Empower Retirement and the Massachusetts Core Plan. So I'm going to hand it over to Lisa Cardinal to introduce us and get us started.
Thanks, Claire. And I agree, MNN is a wonderful organization. So my name is Lisa Cardinal. I work at Empower Retirement, or now called Empower, excuse me. And my role is to educate nonprofit employers about a retirement plan that the Commonwealth built specifically for small nonprofits, and that is called the Core Plan. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that at the very end of the presentation, just for a few minutes. And we're going to start with my colleague, Luis Fleites of our Marketing and Thought Leadership Department. And he does lots of great research on financial wellness and retirement preparedness. And he is going to share some of those findings with us now. So Luis, I'll hand it over to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Lisa and Claire. Great to be here this morning. Good morning to everybody. Always excited to share some insights that we've developed in new research or recent research from a number of different studies that we've conducted here at Empower. So in terms of my role, I'm focused on content and thought leadership development for Empower. I've been with the firm for about 3 years, been focused on kind of the same types of stuff for 20 plus years now. So obviously I'm very passionate about it and love what I do. And there's always something new to look at and trying to help our clients, our employees, participants move forward in their pursuit and hopes of achieving financial freedom going forward. So my focus is more so on plan sponsor type content, but also take a very close look at consumers, individuals, and participants, and tie it all together so that it can better help you going forward. So kind of tying some of the points of kind of the educational points that Lisa mentioned in terms of what our goals are and all that, we have the home for all the content that we create at Empower and Thought Leadership is housed in one place. It's called the Currency, and it's the source for latest financial news and views shaping how we live, work, and play. And I just want to highlight this as being a great source for you, for employees, for participants to go and really educate themselves on a really broad set of topics. We have made it very engaging and broke it down into kind of the aspects that are relevant to us in life, money, life, work, play, and how financial factors impact that. So there's a lot of educational content, the basics of 401k, of loans, everything that you need to have a solid financial foundation to move forward. And then there's the more plan sponsor oriented content, the B2B content that's found under Workplace Solutions. So just do a little plug for that, but mostly just because it is really great content in a lot of different topics that's educational and can help employees and yourself moving forward. So let's dig into what we're here to talk about today is getting employees to open up about money. So when we talk about open about money, it's not necessarily sharing kind of their salary and basic stuff like that. We have kind of a really broader implication or connotation for that, that we want people to feel comfortable um, with money. And when we talk about money, it's, kind of budgeting, financial planning, financial literacy, loans, debt, et cetera. So kind of all those discussions that are ultimately have to be addressed if you really want to have a good or more effective or better outcomes in terms of your retirement plans down the road. So usually when I do these types of presentations, I always like to take a pulse of the current financial situation and how people are doing. And this is a survey of about a few thousand Americans, 2,000, about 2,500 Americans with a retirement plan. It is a corporate, people with corporate retirement plans, but we've looked at, in my research, I look across segments quite a bit, and nonprofit, healthcare, government, and all that stuff. And these trends, they parallel each other. The numbers might change a little bit, but a lot of the similar impacts that people are going through are really shared across the board. And as you can probably have noticed in how the media covers things and covers financial events. So looking at this, we asked the surveyed individuals, if they'd already done certain things, they plan to do certain things, and if they do not plan to do certain things regarding their kind of the financial world. So a couple takeaways. I know there's a lot here, so I'm just going to zero in on two or three things. One is that there's a positive sign of commitment and desire to stay focused on retirement savings. So in the second row in that semi-highlighted box or dotted line box, it's contribute more to retirement savings accounts. That 18 participants said or respondents said they'd already done this. Another 35 said they plan to do this going forward. So a large percentage moving forward. The extra positive about that is that if you move over to two boxes over to those that are contributing less to retirement savings account, 69% have no plans on doing this. So positive retirement messaging. There's a commitment, resiliency to focus on that in terms of what people are focused on. Secondly, in a broader financial level, that people are also taking sound steps in terms of, perhaps it's financial stress that's out there that's driving them to do this, but either way, they're taking solid steps. And when we look at people that are selling assets or investments, 66% have no plans to do this in the next 6 to 12 months. So that, you can read into that is people aren't taking knee-jerk reactions to market volatility, to ups and downs in the markets, and they're having sticking with the plan and going forward, which is a very positive thing. Secondly, there's a good amount of people speaking with professional or with a financial professional. About a fifth have done it. 34% plan to do this. So people are looking for help. They realize that they can benefit for it, and there's more people that can benefit of course. And then also a good amount of people looking to create budgets and other things. But the third piece of it too is, which we all know very well, is that there is quite a bit of financial stress, financial strain out there, and although inflation has come down, higher prices are still out there to a great degree. Interest rates are still up there, which are causing higher credit card payments. So there's a lot of factors that are impacting people, and people are still cutting back on daily expenses, on their entertainment or recreational activities, delaying purchases, and really seeking other ways to make more income going forward. So that's, I think that's a good setup as to kind of the sentiment of consumers, participants, individuals right now out there. So talking about the strains and financial stress that's out there, I wanted to understand a little bit more, focused on the retirement side. So obviously we have an affinity towards that. Is why aren't people saving more? So to start off, through the survey, we found out that only 11% of Americans think they they are saving enough. I think if you asked at any time, that people probably would say they're not saving enough. It's just human nature and kind of the way people respond to things. But with that number, that's just a very small number. So there's tremendous opportunity. That means I think people are looking for help to be able to save more and find ways to do it, and that means addressing their current financial situation as well. And then there's about 61% or 6 in 10 that said that they'd wish they'd started saving for retirement earlier. So that's kind of the kind of 2020 hindsight look, that that regret of not doing something, and that's probably still common, but we want to try to avoid that and get people saving earlier, so down the road that when we ask them in the future, for future respondents, that that they've been able to do what they want to do and put themselves in the best position to retire and meet their other financial goals out there. So speaking directly to what we're seeing here is what's limiting Americans' retirement savings rates. Not very surprising in terms of the top options. Need to make ends meet. More than a third of people, inflation. Again, those high prices. It's great that inflation's coming down, but if the prices that you're paying at the supermarket aren't moving in tandem, then that's a challenge, an ongoing challenge, which hasn't, and a lot of incomes haven't kept up with it. And then paying back debt is just circles back and is always a big challenge, increasingly in this environment, again, with higher interest rates and credit card debt, et cetera, that student loan debt and other factors that we've seen, that's becoming an increasingly challenging issue. Just want to add here too. I mean, there's obviously a lot of other factors, and it's individual dependent, generational dependent, and speaking of generations, that that there are differences, across age groups and generations in terms of priorities. Or concerns. For example, the youngest generation in the workforce, Gen Zers, about a fifth, feel that saving for retirement isn't a priority. Hey, it's probably 40 years, 30, 40 years away. They're worrying about paying rent. They're worried about other things. So that retirement isn't at the top of the list. Perhaps they may need to address some other things, but we know that starting early to planning for retirement makes a big difference, even if you're saving a little. So kind of keep an eye on that's important. 20% of millennials are limited by childcare costs. You've seen with inflation and rising costs, childcare has always been an issue. So that's a big factor impacting that group of the population going forward. And then 19% of baby boomers believe, interesting, that they're saving enough for retirement. So hopefully, that number grows, and considering that they're retiring very shortly. But there's generational differences, different factors that impact how people go to forward. And with the resources that we provide and the support that we offer, we need to be cognizant about that and make sure they can access the help that they need when they need it. So that means that it's really time we had that money talk going forward. I think if you look on a daily basis, through TikTok, through Instagram, through social media, that money is not. It's not like it's not being talked about, but it's trying to get people to spend their money. But individuals really aren't having kind of the money talks and figuring out their own finances. Having the right conversations per se, and looking at the right things. And we found in our survey that 6 in 10, I think it was 62% of Americans say they really don't talk about money. And again, when I think about talking about money, I mean, kind of that broader sense. It's not just like, hey, I made, $25,000, I made $30,000. It's kind of the broader discussion and everything that goes into it. Overall, so 6 in 10, they don't really talk about it, but 6 in 10, also 60% believe that more open conversations of money are the key to financial freedom. So that's going to open a lot of doors by having those conversations, creating the comfort level and the engagement, and starting to answer questions and feel greater comfort. And ultimately, it's knowing what the challenges are. May not change the challenges. You may still be $30,000 in debt, but knowing what it is, knowing what your options are, creating a plan, that's a way to move forward. And secondly, it reduces the financial strain of not knowing. Not knowing something sometimes is worse than having those answers. So through our research, we talked about, surveyed about 2,000 Americans about these topics, and went into a few other things about, talking about money and digging a little deeper. And so although people aren't talking about it, we know, like, that people are still searching for answers, or they want, an easy way out with the money approach. So, this is a little whimsical, but in the research, we asked about purchasing lottery tickets, that, 71% of Americans have purchased a lottery ticket. 1 in 4 millennials turn to a fortune teller for financial guidance. Yet really only 1/3 of Americans have spoken with a financial advisor. So, obviously people are looking for, me included, winning that big lottery ticket, and that's going to solve all the problems. Or, hey, maybe that fortune teller will will give me a unique approach to moving forward, or it's auspicious that you have a bright financial future. So obviously a little whimsical there, but I think, the point is that people aren't, talking with family, with friends, or a spouse as much as they should about a lot of these topics going forward. So part of the issue is that, through the research, we found that employees have widely differing knowledge and comfort levels around personal finance. So, what that means is that, found that a lot of people never discussed a lot of, most financial topics, either growing up, so as a kid, or, as a teenager, and getting that financial advice, or even as an adult. So, interesting enough, I was having my son's in college, so we're trying to educate him about finances and working and paying off things, and stuff like that. And, talk to my wife, she was saying that when she was growing up, her parents never talked about saving. So it was always, you get your money, you spend it. And it wasn't, there wasn't any planning. So it's important to get those types of discussions out, because people probably haven't, not probably, a lot of people haven't had it. And as we see here, about a half of people say they haven't had conversations or discussions about how to invest in the stock market, how to have a salary negotiation, how much money they have, or think about in terms of what they have, and how to implement it, and use it for better financial planning. Taxes, tax optimization. There's a lot of financial topics, and people don't have to be experts on these, but it's important to be aware of them, so they can have the right questions to ask, and go to a financial professional, or look for educational resources, or leverage those financial tools that are available through financial providers, through retirement providers, to be able to go forward. So the people aren't asking the questions or getting the help that they need. So what's top of mind within individuals? We wanted to understand, some of the key questions that were out there. So, it's pretty interesting that, not surprising that, the top question by, 2/3 of folks was, how do I make more money? So, obviously we can't solve that problem necessarily. But yeah, I think if you take that a little bit deeper, I think that's always going to be a pretty high answer in terms of financial questions. But in this environment, going back to how we opened up in terms of the financial stress that people are going through, the financial challenges, the inflation, and all those factors, I think people are struggling. And a lot of our research has shown that, and I'm sure you've seen in the media, that people are looking for additional gigs, getting second jobs to make ends meet. So that's top of mind for most. But fortunately and positively, obviously from Empower's perspective, and hopefully from everybody else's perspective, is that 63% of people, the second most top of mind financial question is how much do I need for retirement? So people are thinking about that, and starting that discussion and thought process of how much do I need is going to, you're going to back it up. It's like, all right, if that's how much I need, what do I need to do to get there? And so on and so forth. So that really begins the process. And then you go down the list, and there's a lot of things. Hey, can I afford this? So a lot of discussions on, that can lead to student loan debt. Is what's the best way to do it if going forward, your credit card debt versus other debt, and how do you pay stuff, and going forward. So there's a lot of important questions that people really are asking and need help figuring out and walking through, so they make better, more informed daily financial decisions that impact longer term financial planning. And sorry. So those are the questions they had, and we also wanted to dig a little bit deeper in terms of areas where people want help. So what are they looking for the help? So we know what their questions are. We just saw a lot of them, but drilling down a little bit more, what are the options? So at a high level, it's hey, ways they can save for the future. So that just doesn't mean retirement, but that may mean a home, that may mean paying for educational, that may mean paying for a car, but creating a plan to move forward. So they want people to get more resources, more support around those areas. They want to talk about their money mistakes, so people realize that hey, maybe I don't have the best financial background, and maybe I'm not taking the best steps possible. So that that could be like hey, using a credit card and not paying it off, or paying off the wrong type of debt first, or overspending, or there's all sorts of things that fall into that category, and then just people are just really thirsting and want financial literacy in everything that entails, and the list goes on. So there's a large variety of what people are looking for and wanting for help. And then again, I think we mentioned earlier that this will, of course, this is the broad population base that we looked at, a representative sample. But then if you start looking at different generations, as we mentioned earlier, there's different concerns that are top of mind for people, and kind of need to be, again, that aware that Gen Z may be more focused, perhaps about budgeting. So that might, as they're getting started, they may need more help. They may start from, perhaps from the beginning, for lack of a better word, or saying it in a different way. Same with millennials. It might be the basics. As you move forward, Gen Xers, they still may need budgeting, but that's probably not the the top priority. They're managing their perhaps mortgage, and college kids in school and all that stuff. So kind of the generational perspective, and being aware of where people are, that they may prioritize things differently going forward. So where do people turn to for help now, and to answer these money questions, to get them more involved? And as you can see, not surprisingly, it's family, their partner, the spouse, the broader family, with 49%, and friends. And then you go down to only about a third are saying they're turning to a financial professional or advisor. So there's definitely an opportunity for people to turn to. It doesn't have to necessarily be an advisor, but turn to other sources of professional advice, education, and guidance, such as offered by benefits providers and retirement providers, such as Empower, to help them move forward. So we also found in the survey that about half of people say that figuring out their personal finance is really intimidating and overwhelming when it comes to managing their money. Yeah, but we also found that, interestingly enough, like all these folks that they're working, that they're pretty comfortable overseeing company budgets, and the majority say they clearly understand their employer's finances and performance. So I think there's a disconnect there. So at work, people are fine, and they can manage the money and view it in a different way. But at home, their personal finances, they're not perhaps taking the steps that they need to do going forward. So ultimately, I would just say here, conversation is currency. In survey respondents, they agree that clarity about their financial picture, talking to an advisor, and financial education are key to achieving financial success. So, the goal is ultimately to make that available and easily accessible, and make people comfortable and easy to access these resources and advice and financial planning, etc. So it ultimately is in facilitating that conversation, whether it's with an advisor, perhaps, even talking through with a colleague, like, hey, do you know about these types of savings accounts, or whatever it may be. But the conversation is kind of that key to get it going. And then, the benefits are, there's numerous benefits beyond just the obvious, but, it's, 6 and 10 say it can help improve the gender wage gap, motivate them in the workplace to work harder, and help build generational wealth, which makes sense. If you get your finances in order and in a better financial situation, when you get to retirement, you can pass it on, and the next generation will be in a better place, and hopefully the kind of those educational financial talks happen for the next generation at a younger age, so they're starting in a better place. So a lot of this goes to points to, hey, let's start by, knowing your net worth. And it's not just a number. It's, understanding that, hey, your assets, your liabilities, all goes into that. Understanding, your budget, what you can spend, what you can't spend, and all those things are pertinent and critical for these efforts. And we also know that these open conversations can lead to people using the retirement plan more. So, the family, the spouse is the lead communication vehicle or engine or mode of talking about finances and have these conversations. But we also know that workplace savers really value the online tools and resources that are available to them, the unbiased advice that they view that's coming from a retirement plan, and understand that they need and want help with personalized financial planning. So ultimately, people want something that's relevant, that applies to their situation, going forward. So, getting them to think about those conversations and, what they're looking for in a retirement plan, and the value that they place in it is gonna, that's a key source to move forward and do that. So a more open dialogue and company culture around money can help employees move closer to what Americans say are their top 3 financial goals. So we asked them, and they said number 1 is being debt free. 2 is having a comfortable lifestyle, and 3 is retiring at their old at their goal age. So there's a lot of work to be done and planning and conversations to have to be able to achieve those. And we know that to get there, that engagement, and again, those conversations are critical, and they can help drive better outcomes. So this is what we're seeing here is an example of different levels of engagement and savings rate. So there's a lot of different factors that go into, obviously, financial planning and all that, but this is it's a good correlation that people that are unengaged, and when we say engaged, it's not a high benchmark. It's with their retirement plan, it's people that have go on to once a year, or in the past 12 months, have gone on to the plan sponsors, to the retirement plan website, that they've had a they've called, they've got an advice call, and a few other key metrics. But it's only one interaction, and we're finding that people that aren't engaged at all, they're saving about 5.6%. People that are engaged, having one of those conversations or checking their transactions or whatever, is, goes up to 8%. And then people that are engaged but use advanced advice and financial wellness tools, that savings rate continues to climb, and even higher for people that are linking their accounts, so that they're creating a comprehensive financial view, their assets, their liabilities. It goes up to 10%, and they may be using financial wellness tools and advice as well. So I think the message here is just, getting engaged, getting involved, getting more informed has positive outcomes, and getting that advice and saving at it's not always necessarily saving at 11%, but it's saving at the rates that you need to save to meet your goals, your current goals, and your future goals going forward. So just quickly wrapping it up here is, again, just emphasizing that, transparency and openness can really be transformative. So I mentioned some of these things, but open money conversations can help more people achieve financial freedom. I think we've talked about a lot of different ways that can happen. People, as I just mentioned earlier, people feel that it could improve the gender wage gap. So I mean, that's getting people more empowered to take a hold of their finances and make better decisions and put themselves in a better position. Generational wealth, we talked about that, and then ultimately workplace, transparency in terms of moving up in the workplace and managing your finances from your income perspective too, and really understanding what's available to you. So that wraps it up today. Just want to, before I pass it on to Lisa here, I just want to mention that there's a number of different research pieces behind this that that you could access on that currency site, which I mentioned earlier. The middle piece, Money Talks, is more about a broader consumer piece, talking about the same things. The one on the left, From Taboo to Mainstream, Getting Employees to Talk About Money, that's more focused on kind of that employer plan sponsor discussion environment with the same messaging. And then on the third is our platform study, Empowering America's Financial Journey from 2023, which looks at all sorts of metrics in terms of savings rates, engagement, loans, and behavior, et cetera. But all these are available on the currency, and encourage people to really take a look through there and see what's available going forward. So having said that, hopefully you found it interesting, and I know Lisa's gonna share some thoughts now and talk a little bit about the Mass 401k core plan, but happy to take questions here or afterwards, or any follow-ups that are needed. I'm happy to do. Thank you today. And I'll pass it on to you, Lisa.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Luis. That's lots of good information. So we can help. Basically, Luis is telling us what's important to people. They find the online tools valuable. They're looking for unbiased advice. They want a link account. We learned the more engaged employees are, the more likely they are to save. So all great stuff that we can help with through the Massachusetts 401k core plan. This is my one slide. I'm just going to go through this. So the Commonwealth built this 401k specifically for small nonprofits. By small, we mean you have 20 or fewer employees at the time you join the plan. And the reason the Commonwealth built this plan is there was a need for it. We know that when you're a small nonprofit, it can be hard to find a quality, affordable retirement plan. And the Commonwealth, they appreciate all the great work you guys do. So they said, hey, we're going to build this retirement plan just for this sector, which is, pretty cool. So it's not just like another financial services company putting out another product to meet their own agenda. It's the state putting this out to serve you. The second item, one of the things that makes it different, is this fiduciary oversight and support from the state treasurer's office. Generally, when you offer a retirement plan, the employer has to serve as a fiduciary, but with this plan, the Commonwealth also serves as a fiduciary, taking on the vast majority of these responsibilities. And the plan was designed that way intentionally to tailor it to nonprofits, because we know those of you at small nonprofits wear lots of different hats. So you aren't going to have a lot of time to worry about your fiduciary responsibilities. That's why the state said, hey, we're going to take on most of that for you. I did see a question come in, but maybe let me just go through the last two bullets and then we can open it up. Another unique feature that is an example of how the plan is tailored to you, and that is it's a multiple employer plan, which means this plan is a way for small employers to band together and get a retirement plan that's more robust and at a lower cost than they would be able to get if they went out on their own. So if they went out to a financial services company on their own and said, hey, we have 5 employees, we want a 401k, what can you give us? Most likely, it's not going to be as robust and it's going to cost more than this plan, than the core plan, because this is a multiple employer plan, and you get to benefit from scale, because all of the organizations who join the plan, we look at you as one large employer. And then the last item, flexible contributions. Even if you can't make an employer contribution because maybe it's not in the budget, there's still value in setting up this plan and allowing your employees to just contribute their money so they can save for retirement and get some tax benefits while doing so. So you don't have to make an employer contribution. You can if you want, but you don't have to. So I'm going to leave it at that. And if you can please take down my contact information. I'd love to speak with anyone who wants to learn more. That's my role, to go out and talk to the nonprofits in Massachusetts about this plan. So would love to speak with anyone. And Claire, did you want to read the chat?
Yeah, the question is, does it matter if the employees are full-time or part-time?
Yeah, great question. No, it does not matter. What matters is that they are a W-2 employee, not a 1099 employee. So when you're looking at, do we have over 20 employees? You're counting anyone who gets a W-2, but it is a point in time count. So you might have fewer than 20 employees, in January, February, March, April. And then in the summer, you have like 30 employees. That's okay, as long as you're joining the plan in January, February, March, as long as you're joining the plan at a point in time when you have 20 or fewer, then you're okay. You're eligible. Any other questions for Luis or me? Okay.
Great.
So Claire, I didn't know if you wanted to wrap up.
Happy to wrap up. Yes. Thank you again to Luis and Lisa for sharing all the information with us today. And as I mentioned, I will be sending out the recording. So everyone who attended and signed up will receive that. And it will also have the contact information of the presenters in there as well. So yeah, with that, thank you all so much and have a great rest of the day.